Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you all today to the monthly meeting of our hospital champions. Your Excellency, Mr. Sharif Adnan Umar, CEO King Fahad Specialist Hospital. Your Excellency, Engineer Dhafar Mubarak, Senior Executive Director, King Fahad Specialist Hospital. Now let's start our meeting with Ms. Iman Khureda and the presentation about patient experience measurement program. Your Excellency, Engineer Dhafar Mubarak, Senior Executive Director, King Fahad Specialist Hospital. Now let's start our meeting with Ms. Iman Khureda and the presentation about patient experience measurement program. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm going to speak about the patient experience measurement program for the first half of 2020 and compare it with the last half of 2019. Our overall patient satisfaction for all services provided in Campus Edge is dropping down for about 1.55. Our percentage now is 83.21. The good news is that we are above the MOH mean, which is the average of all hospital practice in this program, which is about 258 hospitals. For the inpatient journey, there is a drop for about 0.77. Our percentage now is 87.39. We are number 4 and we were number 4, and also we are above the MOH mean. Improvement priorities, which is the points or index we need to improve for this journey. Response to concern made during your stay, assistance you receive with daily person care, staff introduction, and degree to which hospital staff addresses your emotional needs. For the outpatient, there is a drop down for about 1.11. Our percentage is 84.59. Our hospital rank, we are number 2, and the improvement priorities for this journey, degree to which you are informed about any delay, concern of nurse showed for your problem, and how well staff work together to care for you, degree to which nurse listen to you. For the emergency, there is a drop for about 1.64. Our percentage is 73.81. And our hospital rank, we are number 9. Improvement priorities for this journey, degree to which staff cared about you as a person, degree to which you were informed about any delays, and concern of nurse showed for your problem. Concern nurse, nurse concerned to keep you informed about your treatment. For the oncology center inpatient, there is an increasing for about 0.86. Our percentage now is 87.29. We are below the MOH mean. Our hospital rank, we are number 5. Improvement priority for this journey, response to concern made during your stay, explanation about what would happen during your treatment, and degree to which hospital staff addresses your emotional need. Staff attitude toward your visitors. For the oncology center outpatient, there is drop for about 2.99. Our percentage now is 82.95, and we are also below the MOH mean. Our hospital rank is number 3. Improvement priority for this journey, how well the staff work together to care for you, courtesy of registration area, courtesy of nurses, and how well nurses listen to you. For the dental service, we are doing very well. There is a usual increasing. In the last half, there is an increasing for about 0.34. Our percentage now is 88.54.
Our hospital rank, we are number 1, and the improvement priority for this journey, how will the staff work together to care for you, fairness of exam and treatment, our concern for your comfort, and explanation of your options for treatment. For the day surgery, there is increasing for about 0.4. Our percentage is 91.47. Our hospital rank, we are number 6. And the improvement priorities is explanation the physician gave you about the surgery, the degree to which your pain was controlled, information you received about the surgery, like the time and how to prepare, degree to which you were informed about any delays. For the home health care, there is a decrease for about 0.01. Our percentage now is 88.59. Our hospital rank, we are number 5. Improvement priority for this journey, wound care, staff sensitivity to any pain you have, treatment plan explanation, and availability of equipment and supplies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Iman. Now we would like to welcome Ms. Torfa Dargham to present a grade of Medica Plus to MCC.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Torfa Dargham. I will go through the following agenda. We will know about some of the medical cloud care benefits, the project scope, project milestones, the current activity, and how you get prepared for the go-live. The main benefit of the MCC is that up-to-date technology. The current version of Medica Plus, it's an old technology. It is not easily accessible from everywhere. It must be installed on each computer. But on the other hand, the MCC, it's a web-based application. It can be accessed from everywhere, no installation required. It's a browser-based and can be used by any tablet, any operation system, and laptop. Also, it supports many integration protocols, and it is cloud supported. Also, from the benefits of the MCC, it's a user-friendly interface that it's not difficult to understand. It's have a Dynadocs tool for documentation, which is a new framework that replaced the old technology, and it facilitates creating a smart form for healthcare providers, documentation on patients' medical records. It's offer flexible documentation, including user dictation, auto-saving, making addendum, and viewing notification history of documentation. Also, nursing task and care plan. It's a new function that allows the nurses to preview their daily and hourly tasks for their patients. And operating room management module. It's a new module that combines clinical and decision support tool. It covers OR activities for physician, nursing, anesthesia, from scheduling and operation to transferring the patient out of recovery room. Our project scope was to upgrade the new technology infrastructure, to add must-have functionality, to add must-have services, and fixing chronic system issues. The milestones of this project was starting from the project kick-off, knowledge transfer by setting up demos between the health informatics and super users and vendor, functional assessment, system design, system testing, business adoption, mock training, and the go-live. We can see here the project milestones. We can see the three milestones, the business adoption, mark, user training are running in parallel. And the go live date will be on 11 December 2020. The current activities is now is business adoption. We emphasize all the departments if there is any changes in their workflow or processes related to the new MCC. Please do the required changes either in your IPP, APP, or in your area to adopt these changes. Also, one of the current activities is the training. I would like to thank all the super users that take the responsibility to train their departments. We appreciate that. It's extra task, but they are a main key member in this project. Also, I would like to emphasize that anyone who didn't get the training, he needs to take the training by contact his super user or the IT department directly. And please make sure anyone during the go live week he didn't take the training, he needs to take the training before the go live. For getting ready for the new system, you need to review your downtime procedure with all department members. Review downtime procedure of your critical services providers such as lab, pharmacy, and medical imaging. Prepare a full paper system, land the admission discharges, and aligning manpower based related to your area. The Go Live activities will start on Thursday evening, 10 December, and the announcing of the Go Live will be on Friday. The timing will be announced next week, inshallah. During the Go Live, we will have a command center that will support 24/7. The issues are expected to be available, but we will work hard to fix all of the issues, and we are emphasize the super user that to be available during the go live week. So also there will be a direct phone numbers per service. That's it. So don't worry, you are available, and inshallah the go live will go smoothly. Of course, every KFSH member is a part of this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mustafa. Let's invite Mr. Sharif Omar to appreciate our champions. دكتور محمد الدرويش، دكتور وليد السلوي، دكتورة رزان بدر، دكتور خالد الدرعان، دكتور عبد العزيز الحريقي،
Assalamu alaikum. Sabah al-khair. Thank you. So I want to appreciate the hospital administration led by our new CEO, Mr. Sharif, and I will thank him for this certificate. It's really a crown that in my head, and I'm doing all of this from my own passion and feeling toward this hospital. I'm here for the last 16 or 17 years, that old. I'm still young. So I want to thank everybody for that. Thank you all. Thank you.
دكتور فؤاد الغامدي.
Alhamdulillah wa kafa wassalatu salam ala Nabi Mustafa. I don't think I am the right person who deserve this actually. If there is someone who deserve it in my team is Sheikh Al-Dosari. She is the real hard worker behind this achievement in patient experience measurement. I think she's supposed to take this, not me. She's the one who worked day and night. Sheikh Al-Dosari is she's a nurse, but she's our coordinator. And she's in leave this week, but she's here today to work for the patient. 2 weeks ago, she has a leave, or 3 weeks ago, and she was able to manage admission like while she's at home. This is really hers, not me, and thank you so much, Sheikh.
دكتور أيونيس. دكتور كاشف مير. دكتور زياد الثاني. دكتور عماد العبسي. أستاذة خولة الجعفر. أستاذ عبد الله الأحمد. We would like to invite Mr. Sharif Omar to answer staff question.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you all for attending or watching remotely today. Obviously, we're still within the pandemic, inshallah. Vaccinations will come out soon, and over the next period of months, we will be able to, inshallah, begin to distribute and hopefully get back to some level of normalcy, whatever that will look like in the future. As we discussed last time, given the format, we asked people to submit questions so that we can address them in the upcoming session. So before I answer some of the questions that we received, I want to again encourage people, please submit your questions, because the intent of this, even though it's remote, is that this is supposed to be an informative session that we're able to give you information, and it's a two-way conversation. So with that said, we had 8 questions from last general staff meeting, and I'll quickly go through them, and I'll summarize the questions and really the answers. So the first question was around business centers. I think there's been a lot of growth in the business centers throughout the kingdom, and so one of the questions was, there's a lot of business centers that are being created that are generating new revenue, and can we do that, and can some of that increased revenue be shared with staff in different forms, bonuses, whatever the case may be. While we are carefully watching the advancement of business centers, the reality under the current condition today, many of these business centers are being formed in other ministries, whether it's the National Guard, the university, the Royal Commission, which have different rules and regulations than the MOH does. So I know this is, again, something that's being evaluated and looked at, and obviously as we move through transformation within the cluster, this is also something that we're particularly paying attention to. Unfortunately today, given the current rules and regulations, we're limited on what we can and can't do. So this is a topic that we'll continue to evaluate, but under today's situation, unfortunately, we're not able to advance them. The second question that we had was around the transformation and the formation of the clusters, and it was around employees' contracts. So the question was essentially, as the cluster matures into more of a corporate environment, will employees' contracts be changed? And the answer today is no. There's no anticipation that employees' contracts will be changed. There's still a lot of unknowns, a lot of national decisions that need to be made, but there are no anticipation at this point in time that anything will change relative to employees' contracts. The second two questions are tied together, and it's around the new Iqama renewal process and the 10-year policy, which is actually not a new policy. It's I think it's revisited every now and then. This question may be a little bit, because it was submitted a month ago, and I know we have more clarity, but the reality is, while we do have to constantly evaluate the mix of our staff, specifically on the 10-year rule, healthcare has received some exemptions so that we're able to continue to provide service. Obviously, healthcare, like other industries, but even more so, is a critical industry that we have the right staff, the qualified staff, and part of having the right and qualified staff is tenure, right? There's the experience in healthcare matters because that experience brings forth a lot of clinical knowledge. So we are evaluating it, but up to this point, we've been successful with the help of the cluster and the ministry to renew. Now, there is a new process which is taking a little bit longer, so we're having to start the renewal process of Iqamas much earlier, which has created this year, because it's a new process, some issues with certain employees. But I know HR is working very diligently on a one-on-one basis to try to get it clarified and cleaned up. But alhamdulillah, up to this point, things have overall been going smoothly. So a subsequent question was, for those whose contract will not be renewed, again, the anticipation is that things will be renewed, but for those who aren't renewed, will they be notified ahead of time? Obviously, regardless of what the situation is, within our contracts, we have specific notification periods. Most of them are 60-day notifications, so we would follow the terms of the contract and provide those appropriate notification. But as I said earlier, we don't anticipate that this will occur in 99% of the situations. Obviously, there may always be a unique situation, but we don't anticipate it. The next question, surprisingly only one question around COVID and vacations and annual tickets. Due to the COVID-19, obviously many people were not able to take leave, and many people were not able to use their annual tickets, and the question was, can we get 2 tickets for next year? Unfortunately, our policy doesn't allow this, but what our policy does allow is reimbursement for tickets. And so for those who aren't able to utilize their annual leave because of some of the restrictions that are involved, we need to work through the normal HR process for refunding or payment allocated to the tickets unused. The next question is around annual increments for next year. We still are waiting to get finalization around our budgets. I'm sure we hear rumors just like everyone. We're hopeful that there will be some annual increases for next year, but obviously we have to wait until the final budget is provided to us, which usually occurs in the January-February timeframe, and then we'll clearly be able to give more concrete information relative to the annual increases. The next topic is, I know a hot one, is around housing. The housing relocation, is it going to happen? What are we doing with the current housing? So I'll give you kind of a quick history and then current situation. There was a team that previously worked on looking at finding new housing compounds within the Dammam Khobar area. The process was gone through and a compound was selected. Unfortunately, the budget wasn't originally secured to support the new compound. And so we had to go back and figure out what we needed to do to secure the budget. So alhamdulillah, we have a commitment 2 weeks ago from the ministry that they will support the new budget for the new compound. So this budget will be allocated again somewhere in January and February. But due to the commitment, we've been able to restart the process to evaluate and secure a new compound. We know that there's a very nice compound centrally that will meet our needs. So we're confident that inshallah, the process will go much quicker this time rather than kind of the drawn out process that's been happening more than probably a year now. So the ultimate goal is to take all of our compounds outside of the hospital and to combine them into one area. One, that we believe that it creates a better environment for all of our staff. But two, it obviously creates efficiencies for us from a transportation standpoint, from a security standpoint, that we're able to just have a relationship in one area. The compounds that we're evaluating are either brand new or 100% renovated. So I was fortunate to be able to visit one or two of them, and they're very, very nice. So inshallah, again, we'll be able to get this wrapped up by the first quarter of next year, and then we'll begin the moving process. Obviously, I think we have currently 320, 330 units outside of the hospital. So that's a large coordination that we need to do amongst various housing. So a plan is being put into place to strategize on what's the most efficient and best way to do that. But we are actively looking for a new location. And then the final question was around electricity bills. Some of us started to pay it in April, others were unable to be paid. I'll just tell you the whole electric transfer, water transfer has been a nightmare for the employees and also a nightmare for the institution in terms of just the logistics of it. As I think those who are impacted know that a memo was issued, I think in January timeframe, that as of February 1st, the employees living in housing were supposed to start paying their electric. This is, again, one of the ministry rules that electric and water should be paid for by the person living in there. It was very difficult because our electric bill is not multiple bills, it's actually one big bill, and so it's very hard to segregate. So I know this created challenges for the people living there and for the hospital to say, okay, how do we meter the different compounds, those that are metered, how do we begin the transfer process? And then to complicate the process, we know that there was old balances before the February 1st timeframe that needed to be cleaned up. I think at this point now, other than maybe a couple of employees, for the most part, it's all transitioned. If there continues to be one-on-one issues, please bring those forward so that we can work through. We have built a good relationship with the electric company over the past 6 months, and we're able to be as flexible as possible within that arena. So those are all the questions I received last month. Inshallah, again, give me whatever questions you have, whatever's on your mind, and we'll look forward to addressing it. So from there, I'd just like to touch on a couple of other things before we close today. First of all, I would like to re-emphasize a couple of things on the presentations earlier. From a patient experience standpoint, you can see in some areas we've improved, but there's been some areas that we've declined in. Overall, when you look at our ranking from a Kingdom standpoint, we still have very strong numbers. But very strong is not what KFSH is used to. KFSH is used to being either number 1 or number 2. And so we want to maintain that top spot in the country when it comes to our patient experience. And I know the team is very dedicated. All the staff is focused. But, in times of COVID and other things, it's easy to get distracted from what patients really need and their family members really need. And because not only are you dealing with the patient, lots of us have personal issues, whether it's someone sick in the family, you haven't seen your family in 9 months, 10 months. We know that there's a lot of stress around it. So it's helpful for us to, at some point, to take a step back and really remember that we're here treating the most critical people in our community, and as best as possible, try to isolate and focus on them when we're dealing with them in that day. And then obviously if there's outside stress that we can help with in any way, we want to be able to support all of our staff to help them through the process. The second one is the Medical Plus, transitioning to Medical Cloud. This is a huge undertaking. I know we went through the presentation and we said it's coming up this week, but the reality is this will impact everybody in many different ways, but it will also have a potential impact on our patient. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that going through this transition, we have the right safety parameters that we're able to access. So, you know, if there's issues with getting history and physical, or making sure that medications are reconciled, we want to make sure that there's clear communication so that things can be addressed. We'll have additional resources here to help support that. But for us to be successful, just like in anything, before you go to the game, whether you do well in the game or not depends on how much you practice. If you don't practice, no doubt you're going to fail. If you are diligent, very specific, and overly practice, even like a test, if you don't study, you're going to fail. If you overly study, obviously you'll be successful. I'm concerned today because I can tell you that we're not practicing. When I look at our people that have attended the number of training sessions, our overall percent is very poor. It's to the point where I feel uncomfortable at this point to even go live with the system. So over the next week, we have expanded the number of services, number of slots to be able to provide sessions. But the reality is, this is not optional. This is mandatory. I've instructed the executive team that if people don't go through the training sessions, they're not allowed to be on the schedule to take care of patients, because we won't put patient care at risk. And so my expectation of all the leadership and all of our staff is that they actively schedule themselves to be trained. We know that there has been some frustration around the actual training, and the team is working on making sure that it's more interactive and more beneficial. But at the same time, not showing up at all is not acceptable. I can tell you in some areas, our percentage of training is in the 20s and 30%. For us to go live, we need to get that number at least to a 70% mark. So again, all the executives know that they are responsible for ensuring that their staff is scheduled for training, particularly the clinical staff, so that we can be successful. So we still have time, but we have very limited time to do our studying, to do our practicing. I'm sure if those of you who remember when you're at school, you do the all-nighter to jam stuff in. That's not the best studying method, but if that's what's necessary, then that's what we need to do. So I can't emphasize enough the need to focus on training right now and make sure that everybody is appropriately educated. The second area that I am also stressing from a compliance standpoint is flu vaccinations. I can tell you some areas are doing really well. Not to forget anybody, but I looked at the nursing number. I think they're above 70% flu vaccination. But the majority of the hospital is really not doing well. If you look at the department scores, I would say 90% are below 50%. Again, this is not a optional thing. While we understand that there are issues with some people may have allergies or other issues, at the end of the day, you either have to take the shot or say why you can't take the shot. So we've done a number of campaigns. We will continue to be available to provide flu vaccinations, but the current utilization rate is not acceptable, and we need to continue to move forward and really spend. I think we have maybe 6 more weeks. Really focus in next 6 weeks to ensure that our staff is scheduled. All of the managers and the leaders should have their file by staff member that says who showed up, who didn't show up, who's taken it, and who hasn't taken it. I don't really, to me, whether they've taken it or refused it, that's not the question today. It's 100% attempt one way or another. And so we really need to ensure that we as a leadership team and all of us in the hospital are complying with that. At the end of the day, all of this comes back to patient care. If you're not available to take care of patients because you have the flu and then you've gotten other team members sick, this not only hurts you, but it's going to hurt our patients if we don't have the right staff members, if everybody's not here to care for them. So again, I encourage you to actively ensure that you're compliant with flu vaccinations. Okay, so putting the compliance aside, we've had some great stuff this past month, and also one other thank you. But first of all, the great accomplishment. I think some of you may have seen it in the news, but one of our surgeons, Dr. Riyad, a urologist here within the institution, made history for KFSH and the entire Middle East. Him and the OR team implanted the smallest MRI-compatible rechargeable micro neuromodulator. So he showed me the size of it. It's extremely small, but for us to be able to provide a service and a technology to our patients that nowhere else can provide really is a testament to the history of KFSH constantly pushing themselves to be at the forefront of innovation. So we're really proud of Dr. Riyad and the entire OR team that was part of the process, and we're confident that we'll continue to see more and more from different services in terms of first of as we've historically have. Moving into, we're already in December. It's the end of the year and moving into the new year. We're excited from a organizational standpoint because while we understand there's lots of change going on right now, whether it's change in leadership, change in org chart, people coming and going, within change creates two different things. It pushes people that maybe weren't in leadership roles or maybe weren't as engaged to rise to the top. So we're really looking forward to engaging more people through this transition. The second is change creates opportunities. I can tell you there's two different people. There's people that hate change, and then there's people like me that if I'm not in change, I really struggle because I hate routine. And so we have to understand that neither one is right or wrong, but there's all different types of people. And so the people that love change are fine. The people that struggle through change, it's all of our responsibility to help explain the why and what we need and why we're headed. So as we move forward from a cluster standpoint into an ACO journey, I can tell you this upcoming year will bring lots of change, whether it's strategic change, whether it's operational change. But we need to engage in this in a positive way and see how can we create something even better than what we have today. We at KFSH I see it as a positive and a fortunate that many of our leaders are now within the cluster or part-time in the cluster, because this gives us an opportunity to really heavily influence what the future looks like within the Eastern Province. For example, Mr. Abdullah this past month was nominated to be the head of nursing for all of the cluster. One, this is a testament to the nursing care that's being provided at KFSH. But two, it also gives us an opportunity to have someone at the table that understands what's the needs of KFSH and how can we help guide that through the transformation. So we will begin doing more frequent town halls to kind of explain to you, one, what's the KFSH strategy, but also what's the cluster strategy and how those two things will interconnect with one another and how KFSH will be expected to lead in many of the initiatives, but particularly around the core competencies that we have today. So, I'm excited about the new year. Hopefully everyone's excited about the new year. I once had a director of facilities, and I started getting complaints about him in January, February timeframe. And so I had never received complaints before that he wasn't following up on things. And so I went to him and I said, I don't know what's going on. I've never gotten complaints about you before, but now 2 weeks into the year, everyone's saying you're not responding to anything. And this guy was a senior person, had been through the military and all this. And he said, and I was very young in my career at that point. So he said, sit down. And I sat next to his computer. And he said, I have this rule. At December 31st, I delete every email. And I figured if they want it in the new year, they'll send me an email again. I said, you can't do this. This is not a rule. While it's not a completely fresh start, it is a time for us to reflect on our past year and then also set goals for this upcoming year so that we can continue again to strive and push ourselves. Finally, I'll leave it with a big thank you and a sad thank you that we are losing one of our leaders, Dr. Hani Hashmi, who will be leaving actually the end of this week to a new career opportunity in Riyadh. Obviously, over the past 10 years, he's brought a lot to the institution. I was able to hear a lot of the history a couple of nights ago, and the department, the organization really has grown tremendous under his leadership, and we will sorely miss him, but also wish him and his family the best of luck in their new adventures. So thank you again for your time today. We certainly appreciate you spending the time. Obviously, we had two important topics. The next week is critical from an IT perspective. We really need to ensure that we are trained and ready to go. I can tell you there's also been concerns brought up around the stability of the system. We continue to work through our project of replacing out a lot of the hardware and servers so that we have a more stable system. It's not an overnight project. It will take time. We have prioritized less critical areas to make sure that when we do make the change, it's a good change before we go into the clinical areas and have a negative impact. But we understand that the system is still not where we want it to be. But inshallah, once we complete the infrastructure rehab project, we'll have a much more robust system that's also able to move at the speed that we need for medical cloud as well. So thank you all today. We appreciate it, and inshallah, have a good weekend.
Thank you and a happy weekend.